Yeah, baby. Welcome to the David TODDCAST. 18-10, and the Steelers are 8-2. First division game. Welcome to Pittsburgh Ravens. 18-10. Wow. Thanks for being with me. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at David M. Todd. You got David Todd Sports on YouTube. Share this widely with your friends. And as I said after the Commanders game and on Twitter, I hope you are enjoying this ride of Steelers football. Look, it's stressful. These games down to the Commanders. Ravens driving after Russ throws an interception in the end zone. But hey, AFC North football, baby. And it's a W as the Steelers go 1-0 in the division. And more importantly, 8-2 overall. And as the Chiefs are behind the Bills, all of a sudden, that game on Christmas Day between the Steelers and the Chiefs might be, can you believe it that we're actually talking about this? Might be for the number one seed and a bye come playoff time. So, as I said, thanks for being with me. Listen, I want to just two notes to a couple buddies who have had tough weeks. Two guys out in L.A., one of my buddies lost his dad, and another's been fighting ALS. And as you might know, that is a debilitating disease. And I just want to Tommy and Jeff let you know that I'm thinking about you, and a lot of people are thinking about you. And hopefully that Steeler win today was able to bring you and those close to you a little bit of joy. So if you're thinking about donating some money this holidays to a charity, please consider donating some money to ALS. So let's get to it. As Mike said, Mike's post-game presser today was a good one, about 6.5 minutes. And if you haven't seen it, I hope you get a chance to check it out. But look, as he said, as I said, yeah, it wasn't perfect. But look, it's a W against one of the best teams in the league. I've considered the Ravens, even though they've had losses to the Raiders, they've had some not pretty losses. Consider the Ravens, if not the best team in the NFL, certainly in that group of 5 or 6 teams that are Super Bowl contenders. And I still think that. But Mike has shown, and the Steelers have shown, they got the cheat code on Lamar Jackson. That's the takeaway from the game today and Lamar Jackson's career record and what he's doing to the NFL this year. You play the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a different thing. And, people are going to talk, look, all week we're going to hear a lot of the negatives about the offense. Man, this defensive performance was one of the best in years. And back-to-back weeks against Jaden Daniels on the road and against Lamar Jackson this week, those are outstanding defensive performances. And look, the key to the NFL is, I'll tell you every week, give me the score of the turnover differential, I'll give you the score of the game, or I'll pick the winner for you. The Steelers 3-1 on the turnover differential, and obviously come out with a W. But here's what I want to look. Hopefully I give you a little bit of a different view of things, and kind of don't just reiterate what everybody says in these post-game conversations that we have. I want to tell you about one specific play. The Peyton Wilson play on Justin Hill. I just reposted it on my Twitter feed, so hopefully it's near the top if you want to have another look at it. Just an outstanding play. The game 15-10. The Ravens on about their own 40-yard line. And Justice Hill, a really good back out of the backfield. He's got a little Jalen Warren in him. He's a really good receiver. And what I loved about this, and kudos to whoever asked the question in the press conference. I didn't see it. But somebody was asked, hey, Mike, you spoke to Peyton Wilson on the sidelines, kind of, what were you talking about kind of prior to the interception? And Mike went into a little 30, 45-second answer, which you don't see all that often, about preparation during the week, saying he's a coverage linebacker. Peyton Wilson is a pass-catching running back, and he's got to be ready for the challenge this week. Holy cow. A-plus stuff. I'm not there every day. There are a lot of guys who are there every day who get to see some of this stuff. And a lot of people like to comment on coaching. I do it. I'm not there every day. I'm probably out of my depth when I do it sometimes. This is the kind of stuff that coaches don't get credit for. Look, I'll tell you all the time. Players get 85 to 90% of the credit, win or lose. Players make it happen. But coaches can make a difference. and they can make situationally a big difference in the outcome of games. And Mike talked about how Peyton Wilson was dialed in for this. He was dialed in on coverage of Justice Hill running these little wide receiver pattern, or these running back patterns out of the backfield. And that swing pass, or there's a variety of different terms for it, but basically it comes out the left side, down the sideline, and probably you would say Peyton Wilson's beat by a step. And Lamar was a bit off on his accuracy during the course of the game today. A lot of throws were actually terrible on the move. This throw, perfect throw. Perfect throw. And I'm watching the play, and this was my reaction when it was live, as I'm watching it with Peyton Wilson with his hand out like this as the ball is coming down. I said, look, he's going to knock the ball away. That's good coverage. And as they went to the ground, I was like, that's an unbelievable catch by Justice Hill. Superb. And then obviously, half a second later, you see things coming up and there's chaos. What's going on? And it's all of a sudden, people are talking about the Steelers having the ball. And instantly I was like, that's not likely. I mean, at best case scenario there is Peyton Wilson got his hand in and knocked the ball away and it went to the ground. Well, you watch the replay, extraordinary stuff. And Mike talked about the fact that this was one of his jobs. This is a main focus, that he's going to have to mirror this guy out of the backfield. And that was the play, to me, play of the game. Look, any football game, you've got 10 plays of the game, right? That, to me, was the most significant play of the game. 15-10, 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You've got a guy who's a third-round pick out of NC State, an athletic guy who doesn't have his ACLs, right? Either in either knee, born that way. And a guy who's been dinged up, an older guy. He's a white guy, inside linebacker. Always the question, these white guys, can they cover, guys out of the backfield? Peyton Wilson speed is not the issue for him. He is a super fast guy and a very smart player, Butkus Award winner. But, you got to cover this guy, Justice Hill, on a wheel route out of the backfield, and boom, he makes the play when it matters. 15-10, the Steelers get another field goal. We know how the rest of it goes. While we're on kind of plays of the game, play number 2 of the game may very well have been the Steelers on the 2-point conversion. There was some question in the Dallas game. You remember the Steelers called a late timeout to give the Cowboys a chance to, convert the play that actually won the game. Well, the play also gives the Steelers a look at what the Cowboys were going to do. It didn't work out that time. Steelers on the 2-point conversion. It worked out this time. I think Charles Davis, who was the color guy on the game. By the way, Marty, another buddy of mine, I was watching the game with him today. He hates Charles Davis. I don't hate Charles Davis, but some things annoy me too. But Lamar Jackson on that play, Charles Davis was talking about how he's looking for the wide receiver in the pattern. There was no wide receiver designed to be in that pattern. Lamar Jackson's running his ass off to the left with the ball in his left hand. He is not looking to throw that ball. He's not looking to change that ball on the move to his left and get it in his right hand. Now, Lamar Jackson, smart player that he is, realizes if you're getting, this is one of my huge pet peeves, college and the NFL. If it's a fourth down, if it's a 2-point conversion, whatever, and particularly a 2-point conversion, if you're going down, just throw the ball up in the air. Throw it as high as you can so it's like a jump ball scrum and see if one of your guys can come down with it, because there are 0 repercussions. Nobody's returning it, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, in a game situation, you don't want to necessarily just throw it up because, something bad could happen. But if you're on your own 20-yard line and just throw it up in the end zone rather than throwing it out of bounds or taking a sack, that's a positive. So do that. Lamar Jackson did that. Fortunately, the ball hit the ground. Steelers were able to run out the clock. All right, let's get into a couple of the topics of the game. Okay. As one of my, another buddy, Pete, tweeted me after the game, said this feels different than years past because this team can win without their A game. I think that's right. I think that's right. Certainly, they did not have their A game offensively. They had their A+ game defensively. I can't say enough good things about what the Steelers did defensively today. Look, the Ravens made some plays, but think about this. Think about the Ravens came into this game averaging 440 yards of offense a game, 31.8 points. They were held to about 330 yards of offense and held to 16 points. That's half their average. I mean, you hold the Ravens to 16 points, you're going to win. I said pregame, 22. 22 was my number. Now, obviously 22 wouldn't have won the game, But if they hold and this is how I look at the Steelers kind of the rest of the way when they play the Eagles, when they play the Chiefs, when they play the Ravens again, and they play Bengals twice. 22 should be the magic number. Now look, obviously you'd like it to be 16 because 16 you can probably bank out of those 5 games. I'll bet 16 you can bank 4 wins for sure that the Steelers will score 17 points. 22, maybe you go 3-2, whatever. But 22 is a good effort. 16, outstanding. And again, the 3 turnovers, crucial. And Jim Harbaugh's got to be kicking himself a little bit for his move at the end of the first half on their own 9-yard line running a play. We could debate this forever about how much time you need left to give your offense a chance. Now, what he's running there is a super conservative play, a screen to Isaiah Likely. You trust your guys in those types of situations, make sure you don't fumble. But much like the Jaylen Warren fumble against the Commanders on the 1-yard line, credit to the Steelers defense. They held Likely up a little bit. Patrick Queen's in there like a gold digger, mining away at the football, and not only gets it out, gets on it. Got to be a little bit of personal joy for him in the Steelers-Ravens rivalry in his first game in the black and gold to be a guy who makes a decisive play, which he did there. As we're talking, the Steelers, the defense held them to 329 yards, 16 points, 3 turnovers, 8+ across the board. Yeah, there were some plays that weren't great, but some excellent plays. As I was talking about on that 2-point conversion, kudos to Joey Porter. Joey Porter had some tough assignments today. The Ravens receiving core is much better than it used to be, much better. And we know the tight ends are really good. Joey Porter, tough job, but on that 2-point conversion, Herbig, great pressure off the edge early, kind of pushed it outside, and Joey Porter was there, tenacious, not always given a lot of credit for his tackling, but tenacious in there, making that play to stuff him on the 2-point conversion. And I'll also say, look, this is one of the times where watching the game tells you a slightly different story than what you're going to see on the stat sheet. The Ravens, they actually ran the ball pretty effectively if you look at the stat sheet. If I told you the numbers, I'm going to tell you the numbers, but just think for a second what you think their numbers were rushing the ball. They ran only 19 times. They ran for 124 yards in 19 carries. That's 6.5 yards a carry. That is outstanding rushing average. I think the long rush for Derrick Henry on that play over the left side was 31 yards. I think Lamar had one for 25. So what does that tell you? Obviously, that tells you that a huge chunk of that was in 2 plays. And I'm not a big fan when you look at an individual's stat line and say, yeah, he carried it 22 times for 104 yards, but he had a 70-yard run, so he didn't run effectively. Bullshit. You have a 70-yard run, you ran effectively because all those 21 other carries make a difference. However, for the Ravens as a team, what I think the stat line doesn't tell you is they were never able to establish the run in this game. The Ravens were, they were doing a lot of, they were passing the ball a lot. They were trying to do some misdirection. They were trying to get Lamar a little bit on the edge. I was surprised that he didn't run the ball more. And I don't know if that's like, look, here we are, 10, 11 weeks into the season. We can't have Lamar taking shots against the Steelers at this point when we're a playoff team. Can't afford to get him hurt. I think that's probably a reasonable approach. But the Steelers showed, again, as I said up at the top, that they have the cheat code right now on being able to contain Lamar Jackson. They did an outstanding job. We're doing an audio video thing here, so talking about stats isn't perfect if I'm not putting up the graphic. But to give you a stat line, Lamar Jackson 33 attempts, 207 yards. Russell Wilson 36 attempts, 205 yards. Both had an interception, obviously, crucial plays, both of them. And Lamar threw for 1 touchdown. But their passer rating's identical, 66.1 for Jackson, 67.5 for Russell Wilson. But remember, one of those guys is supposed to be the league MVP and has been the league MVP to this point in the season. So, covering the defense here to start this, just freaking outstanding. Just outstanding. I don't know what to, I don't know where to find criticism. Cam Hayward, Another stellar performance. TJ, one or two big plays. I'll say what's interesting about this is TJ Watt in the past 2 weeks has not been a guy dominating the stat sheet. Made a couple plays late in the Commanders game, made a couple plays in this game, but these guys were able to get consistent pressure on Lamar Jackson and force him out of the pocket. The play late where I don't know if TJ got credit for the stack or it was Preston Smith, but where they forced him to the right sideline and made him throw the ball, but he had actually stepped out of bounds. Just relentless pressure, a key, and the Steelers defense did that, and again kept their lanes, and really outstanding. Again, I'm effusive with my praise for the defense. Special teams, Mike's line was when asked about Boswell in the presser, he said, "Man, I love Bos, but I am tired of him winning Player of the Week." That's a good one. That is a good one. He said it shows our warts, and certainly did show the Steelers' warts offensively. But you've heard me champion Bos for as long as I can remember. Even 5 or 6 years ago when he was off to a rough start and people wanted him cut, I was like, look, this dude's the guy. He's the man. Tomlin finally realized 2 or 3 yeyears ago that he can kick field goals that are longer than 48 yards. He can attempt field goals that are longer than 48 yards because Boswell's going to make them. 57-yarder today. Boom, 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 boom. It's a 6 total. He becomes the second guy in history to have 2 6-field goal games in one season. He becomes the third guy, maybe the first one, I think, to ever have 3 in a career. I don't know what you say, but as I've told you, Justin Tucker's the greatest kicker ever. If there was any question about the mantle being passed, it was officially passed at Acrisure Stadium today as Tucker missed 2 field goals from 47 and 50 before hitting a 54-yarder. Obviously, those were big possessions where the Ravens didn't come away with points. So it'll be interesting when they do the All-Pro voting at the end of the season. Brandon Aubrey from Dallas, outstanding. Jake Bates for the Lions, outstanding. McLaughlin for Tampa, outstanding. But I think Bos actually won. I think he is All-Pro, assuming he continues the performance that he's been on so far this season. If he's kind of remotely close, he will be first-team All-Pro and so damn deserving. Great. Special teams, really good job. Again, Corliss Waitman, unsung because, you hope not to talk about your punter and your punt coverage. Great again today. Great. That one punt he almost had blocked, or the pressure looked like it could be blocked. 71 yards, 51 net. Hey, get it out of there. Outstanding job. Okay. The elephant in the room, the not so good, was certainly the offense. And Russ didn't play well today. There's no two ways about it. It wasn't an F, obviously, but I'd give him a C. And this is one time where I would like to see the All-22 before being too critical of Russ. One, the offensive line wasn't great in terms of allowing pressure. It felt like Russ was under pressure the whole game. And I think Russ this is one of the things I'll never know, and most of you will never know, the feeling of in the pocket. And again, remember, he's 5'11". That makes a little bit it's different than being Justin Herbert, being 6'4" or 6'5", as a guy, just in terms of the sight lines, what you can see. I'll never have a feeling for when is it time to go and how much longer can I stay. And that is a massively important thing for a quarterback. Whether you're Ben or Tom Brady, you talk about guys' ability to move within the pocket. Russ has that, and he showed that a couple times today, kind of able to sneak out and under. The one where he ended up short on the rush where he got 4 yards instead of 5. That was a bit of a mistake. Felt like he could do that, but a solid hit by Kyle Hamilton. But I'll never have that feeling. Somebody can talk to me about it. Russ could talk to me about it all the time and explain it. But, that is an intuitive thing and why experience matters, is when do I release from the pocket? He does some spinning, which I'm not a huge fan of, but he's done it much better. I was hypercritical of Kenny Pickett for doing that spin out move to his left, which he would do all the time, and teams get used to that. With Russ, he's on a spinorama. You never quite know where he's going to go. And he has done I thought he did a good job today and has done a good job this season so far in throwing the ball away to the sideline. He doesn't leave any doubt when he's throwing it to the sideline. It's 5 rows into the stands, except for the interception. We'll get to that. So I'd give Russ kind of a C. C minus. I really don't think the receivers were open. On the play in the end zone, the interception, I watched that play 5 or 6 times without the all 22 view, just the view that you could see on television. And the two guys up top to the left, I think it was Pickens and I'm not sure, not open. Jalen Warren ran a little stop route just in front of the goal line, not open. And then there were two guys on the right side, Austin at the goal line and then Darnell Washington. And, they weren't open and they weren't moving for Russ when he was moving. And again, when a team comes in ranked 29th in pass defense or whatever the Ravens actually were, you expect an offense that's looked pretty good with the passing game the last 3 weeks to kind of pick that apart. I mean, Joe Burrow absolutely terrorized those guys, particularly in the second half last week with Jamar Chase and his other guys. That didn't happen today. And again, hard to tell, but it didn't feel like Russ missed a bunch of open receivers. However, Russ didn't have a ton of time. When he did have time, didn't look great. And kind of the last point I'll make on this, again, without being definitive about it, but Russ is a guy who's going to be at his best, and this is where I think Charles Davis did make this point. Get back 3-step, 5-step, 7-step, whatever it is, or out of the gun. Get back, plant that right foot, and throw on your first read. It felt like Russ never saw his first read clean. Not as in couldn't see it. He never saw that read open. And that's problematic for your game when you're immediately good. And, this is Russ's experience is going to help him when you're going to the second or third read. But, you want to have your first read 80% of the time. This is certainly not the case today. So passing game, not great. But a couple points. 1, 2, the deep ball to George, 37 yards. Dropped it in the bucket again. A perfect throw. And George, my goodness, such a great catch. And he is so good at, it's a great skill as a receiver to be able to locate the ball and keep your hands down as long as possible. Because when you do that, obviously the defender's just running with you, not going to get his hands up to block it. And Pickens did that as well. This would be a instructional video for the way George did that on that play. Huge. They get Najee down to the 5. They don't score, blah, blah, whatever it is. The 2 passes to Darnell Washington. That's a revelation. We've seen Washington now on these misdirection screen passes. He is a load to bring down. What we saw from each side, one from each side in the second half each, I think they were both fourth quarter, was Darnell Washington making really good hands catches, particularly the second one where you got a good end zone view of the play on the television. Boom, hit him. Darnell Washington makes that's a great hands catch for a guy that big and huge gains. So love that aspect of the game. I know there's been a bitching and moaning extraordinaire about Mike Williams. Look, he's 2 weeks in. Yes, like to see more. I'm not going to pass judgment 2 weeks into this offense. It did look like what the Ravens were doing was taking away the deep ball. Mike Williams isn't a guy who's going to run a lot of quick slants over the middle and things that I think the Steelers could have used more of. So again, not going to question how they're allocating playing time. Okay, that's not my job. I try not to be too critical of things that I really don't have a sense of what his route tree is, what his dynamic kind of ability is with Russ to this point. I will say Van Jefferson dropped the only ball I think thrown to him, and I've kind of been in Van Jefferson's corner. Didn't love the play call down at the goal line. It was 3rd and 6 from about the 10, and they threw it 4 yards. He wasn't getting the first down, even if he caught it. But Van Jefferson's in there somewhat for his blocking, so again, that's something you got to see on the film. Calvin Austin, kind of non-factor again today. So, I would expect, maybe not Thursday night, but here going forward, yes, I'm in the camp. Like to see more of Mike Wilson. Like to see more of Muth over the middle of the field. We saw Darnell get those plays. Like to see some more of Muth. He did make 1 or 2 catches in that game, I think, overall. Najee's a beast. What are you going to do? Just is what he is. Jalen Warren finally back. Kind of looks like he's 100% healthy. I think both of those guys had solid games. Nothing spectacular. Obviously, look, you put up 18 points. You don't score. You're 4 times in the red zone or whatever it was. It's just not good enough. Offensive line, I would say C as well. It's just kind of across the board, the offense isn't getting great marks for that for that performance overall. They made some key plays when they had to. we can talk about the mistakes. And then the other big topic of conversation on the offensive side is going to be Justin Fields and should they use him more. Now, I give Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin credit. I didn't expect to see this. Because the offense was working so well the past 3 weeks, I just don't feel like you want to break the momentum. And I don't think Mike is the type of guy to break the momentum or think about, putting those things in. But obviously the Steelers didn't have a ton of momentum and they weren't doing a lot of great things. So they brought Fields in earlier where he got 8 yards on a play that they converted on third down. That worked out great. The question is, why wasn't he used on the goal line? Okay, that's going to get asked a million times. We'll see that again. That will be asked to Mike on Tuesday, and we'll see what his answer is for that. But obviously the play that made the biggest difference was Steelers have whatever it is, a 2nd and 9 trying to run out the clock, and they bring Fields in, gutsy move. Play goes according to script. Can't go better. Cannot go better. And Justin Fields slides at the 8.5-yard mark instead of the 9-yard mark. It's just such a bad mistake. I mean, it's like Pickens when he stepped out of bounds and putting the ball forward without getting his second foot down. That is some dumb shit. I mean, there's no other way to say it. That is some dumb shit. George has to know when his 2 feet are in. I mean, I realize he's trying to do something that's positive, but man, you can only make so many dumb plays when you have to say that's some dumb shit. Stop doing that. Stop jumping too, man. Stop jumping. Okay, so Justin, I mean, you're the backup quarterback, dude. Get the first down. Keep running. Give up your body, whatever. Make sure you're 4 yards past the stick so you get the first down. Everybody knows. I don't need to belabor the point. It was a mistake. But, again, interesting call on the next play. Fields stays in. Out of the shotgun, he hands it to Najee. Now, if that doesn't work, all hell breaks loose with the play call. Let's be honest about this. Everybody loves ripping play calls that don't work. They ran the QB sneak with Russ on 3rd and 1 on the 44, whatever it was, didn't get it. Next play, they hand it to Najee. Everybody knows those were terrible play calls, blah, blah, blah. They didn't work, so they're obviously terrible. Here they go. Hand it to Najee. Gets the first down. Great play call. Success or failure determines whether we think it's a good call or a bad call. So they get to run out the clock, and that's a damn good win. And I'm jazzed about it. I hope you're jazzed about it. Again, hope you enjoyed the game, because there's a lot to talk about in that game. Good, bad. We know better. We don't know better. We see this stuff, but I think we covered the highs and lows there. Obviously, the Steelers coming right back. Oh, the press conference is going to be tomorrow. It's game on Thursday, so Mike's press conference will be tomorrow at noon. I am going to do a midweek one. I'll get to you. I keep making promises I don't keep. Sorry. Anyway, give me comments. Let's have some dialogue down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'd like some interaction. I will do better by getting this more broadly shared. But hey, I'm super excited for this win, and it's been fun to watch these games. And if the Steelers, man, if they get a win against Cleveland in Cleveland Thursday night, don't take these for granted. Vegas certainly doesn't take them for granted. The Steelers were 3-point dogs again. By the way, if you happen to gamble, if you're a Steelers fan and happen to bet on the Steelers just because you like them, that has paid hopefully it pays for Thanksgiving dinner so far. Some wins there. So, okay. Thanks for watching. Please share widely, and I'll talk to you soon. Steelers victory, 8-2, 18-10 over the Ravens, 1-0 in the AFC North. Thanks for watching and listening to the David TODDCAST.